Be seated. I'd like to say a good afternoon to every one of us, my old friends that I've met before, and my new friends that I'm meeting for the first time today. It's my prayer that we will continually excel to the praise and glory of the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. This afternoon, I'm going to attempt to talk about those three areas very quickly: office administration, report writing, and corresponding management. Now, when we talk about office administration, we really are looking at the activities which involve overseeing the activities of other people, such that the organization will run smoothly. You administer others, you oversee the work of others, and the intent and purpose of office administration is that the organization should achieve its purpose. And at the end of the day, the results that have been predetermined, the outcomes that have been predetermined, can really be achieved, and the organization can move forward. Definitely, when the organization moves forward, a lot of things begin to happen. The human resource begin to achieve their purposes. And not only that, opportunities for advancement, opportunity for growth becomes available to everybody within the organization. And so we will look, therefore, at office administration as that branch of management concerned with obtaining and recording information. You obtain it, you record it, you analyze that information. For what reason? Really, it is so that you can make business decisions. The Redeemed Christian Church of God is a business organization, not to the intent that it is set up to make profit, but like Jesus himself said, he says, I'm about my Father's business. So it is a business. It must be looked at that way. So we want to have information that has been obtained, that has been analyzed, codified, and that is put in such a way that we can take decisions for the business that can help us achieve the results that we have set out for ourselves. And not only that, it involves planning. It involves communicating. That's part of what we were hearing a little bit earlier on. And you want to see how you can safeguard your assets. You want to see how you can manage the human resource, the time, you can manage the men, the material of the organization, such that you can achieve your objectives. And so one of the things that I want you to put in mind today is that what I usually say is that it's the results that matter, not the activities. And so when you're talking about office administration is geared towards achieving predetermined results, predetermined outcomes. And to do that excellently, we need somebody to oversee what is happening within the office. And so I will look quickly, therefore, at the responsibilities of administrators. There are quite many, but we can look at a few of that. They will advise and assist other staff in planning their activities. So when I'm talking about, they will do what we call work planning. They have to plan the work. It may involve designing the office in such an arrangement that work can be carried out effectively. It can include having schedules, setting out schedules, who is to do what, when. So we want to be able to see how should activities be carried out, should we possess new equipment, how should we maintain them, okay, how do we have effective supplies to the organization. A lot of these things are the things that we're doing. And it's just, we're just going to talk about the theoretical background and the principles to some of the things that you see that we are doing already. So how do we assist them in planning? How do we supply equipment? And then how do we get the personnel that are required? Number two, they scrutinize those procedures and the forms and the stationaries associated and make recommendations. So you see that there was a small effort at rebranding, isn't it, for the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Somebody must have looked at some of that and said, okay, in order to achieve what we want to achieve better, let's do a change of things like logo, like forms, like stationaries, and it's one way really to catch the eye. It's one way to signify that there's a change that is going on. So we scrutinize the procedures, we scrutinize the forms, we scrutinize stationaries, and then we want to see whether we can improve them. Number 3, ideally, there should be an administrative manual, or what we call an office manual, that can guide a lot of the activities that occur within the organization. So that's one of the things that, if it's not yet in place, we can put in place for the mission as a whole, at the national level, at the provincial level. So the office manual, the kinds of procedures that we require, who should make what requisitions, and who should be the approving authorities. The administrator helps us to look at all this and makes recommendation. Number 4, they will review regularly office machinery and equipment to see whether they are well maintained. So I expect that in all our provinces, each equipment will have a maintenance record. And not only will each equipment have a maintenance record, there will be a master record that shows you when such things should be actually maintained. Your generators, your ACs, whatever it is that are those equipments that are very critical for the work of the organization, there must be a schedule that is kept on a monthly or weekly basis so that you don't forget a lot of these things. Number 5, we want to establish, in relation to clerical procedures, work schedules and output controls so that there will be efficiency and economy. How do we plan the work? What kind of schedules should we have? Some of these will include things like the leave roster, isn't it? There are all types of schedules that you keep, and also schedules that show who should do what. At the beginning of the month, what should happen? At the middle of the month, what should happen? At the end of the month, what should happen? And who are the people who should do the various things that we require to be done. Then we said they will assist in human resource management by establishing satisfactory standard of welfare and filling vacancies. What are the things that we're talking about here? You may actually be involved in recruitment. You may or may not be involved. It depends on the policy of the organization. But you are involved in recommending. If there is a need, HR planning. Who are the number of people? What number of people do we require? And you may need to specify what is required for each position. Now, as we seek to professionalize the administrative office within the church, it means that the administrator himself must equip himself to do the work professionally. So if that is going to be done professionally, they should be able to give advice in terms of some form of welfare and recruitment for the human resource that we have, the human resources that we have. Number 7, they handle information. We're talking about mail just a bit earlier. Information that is received or that is dispatched either by post, either by internet, electronically. However that information comes into the province, very often the administrative officer has a lot to do with it. How it is received, how it is disseminated, and even how it is dispatched to the various places. So, and one of the key things that you hear from most provincial offices is that information gets stuck. Isn't it? Praise God. Am I right? It does happen. Information is not dispatched to those who need them at the time that they are required. Or sometimes it's not at the provincial level. It gets to the areas, and then the areas do not actually disseminate that information as urgently or as quickly as it should. So how do we actually handle this information if it's received by telephone? What should happen? If we have, for example, a telephone operatress or a receptionist, what should be actually the procedure by which information should be scheduled. And if you're going to do that very well, there must be certain specific equipment that you will have even within the provincial office that will allow you to transfer calls and to make calls, even if it's from a central point. So that's what we're looking at. How do we classify information? How do we arrange it? How do we dispatch it? How do we receive it? And how is it treated within the organization? Definitely, when you're talking about that, you also have to be talking about a number of registers that must be kept to ensure that you actually properly keep track of documents. There are offices where you get to and you're wondering, oh, this letter came in, this letter didn't come in, when did it come in, where is it stuck? Oh, I gave the letter, I minuted the letter, and people are running helter-skelter. That can easily be solved if there is a movement register that shows you what files came in, when did they come in, who treated it, and to who was it dispatched. And each of these people will have a column that they sign so that you can know where exactly the document is at a particular time. It helps to avoid confusion. So how do we actually treat documents? That's part of the responsibilities of office administrators. They deal with external people, clients. Now, somebody may say here, do we have customers? Yeah, you do have customers. You may not call them customers in the real sense of a paying customer, but I define customer as anybody who receives something that you provide. They don't have to pay for it. Now, if you treat them really like clients and you treat them like customers, you're going to have a lot of satisfaction, and people will want to deal with your offices. There are offices that people don't want to go to if they have anything to do, but there are offices that people are delighted to go there. So how do you deal with the external people? It is the job of the administrator really to set up the plan to do that effectively and to monitor how compliance with whatever policy that we have is being done. Suppliers are another group of people. Now, suppliers are very critical to the success of an organization. Sometimes we just look at them, maybe they are coming to make money. They will make money, but the services that they render can be critical to your own success. So you want to deal with them in a just and fair manner such that, yeah, they will make a profit, and as a stakeholder in the organization, they can provide effective service for you. So one of the things I want you to look at is looking at suppliers not from, a paternalistic or sometimes an aggressive manner standpoint that, yeah, maybe they are coming to make money. Yeah, they are making money. They are business persons, and they are providing a service to your organization. Now, if you relate with them effectively, if you give them the kind of information that they require, you give them that information as quickly as possible, it makes life a lot easier for you. And rather than having 10, 20 suppliers, it's been found that it is better for you to have 2, 3 key suppliers that you can even get what we call economies of scale, because you're buying so much from such people, you can negotiate better terms, delivery terms, and even better terms in terms of financial activities. So that's one of the things I'd like us to look at as administrator. So all those people who provide us services, how do we relate with them? Government agencies, colleagues, banks, insurance, whatever happens. Now, the administrator also looks at things from the point of if there are requests or if there are complaints, how do we handle such complaints? So he must be a resource person. Actually, I see the administrator as a resource person to a lot of people within the organization, not only in terms of oversight, but also in terms of providing the kind of support and sometimes also evaluating and measuring the extent to which each of those departments are actually fulfilling their mandate and they are following the operative manual that we have. So that's why we say there is a control system that we must have, that we monitor effective compliance. How are people complying with the operational processes? And Your manuals, really, what they'll do is that manuals will specify processes. Every organization runs on processes. If we don't have processes that are documented, well documented, people will do whatever they like. The point with processes, documenting processes and disseminating processes, is that you can then have a uniform way of dealing with issues. So we know that if this comes in, this is the way it must be done. This is what the process that we will follow to see that such a thing becomes successful. So you operate a control system. You monitor what is happening on a regular basis. And you want to, as a result of that, be able to monitor your costs, be able to monitor performance, be able to monitor compliance. You are able to monitor even how things are progressing. And of course, you're monitoring how much of the results that you are achieving, such that if there is a need, you may want to change the plan. No plan is fixed forever, isn't it? We plan, we act, we review, and we plan again. We plan, we take action, we review, and then we plan again. It's a continuous process. So the administrator helps us to feed that process very well because of the control system that he actually is in the midst of. So there are so many others. You deal with visitors, telephone calls, mails, document production, transmission, classification, storage. A lot of times also you deal with purchasing of consumables, stationery. So the administrator sometimes is looked at more or less as a jack, really, of all trades. He must have an understanding. It's not everything he does himself, but he has the oversight for some of that. So we need to look at that effectively. So that principally, and in short, is some of the responsibilities that office administrators often have. Now, when we look at the work of the administrator, therefore, it is clear that the administrator is very, very critical to the organization. Office administration is critical to the success of the organization. Now, in managing records and documents. Now, records management, why exactly should we keep records? Is somebody going to help me? Why do you keep records? Why is it so critical that we keep records? Yes? Future reference. For informed decisions. Easy follow-up. You need to follow up. Yes? There's one. Planning. There's another one. Accountability. Future. Okay, for the future. Also for improvement. Decision making. Improvement. Planning. Yeah, planning very, very critical. But for improvement. So we can be able to have a historical record of what has happened so that we can plan for the future, we can review what we have done, we can plan for improvement, and whenever we need to actually have access to such records, we should be able to have them. And that's why it is very, very critical that information be stored in a manner that it can be retrieved whenever we need it. So I may be looking at people here who are always looking for papers and documents. It happens every time. Okay? Whether it's electronically, whether it's paper, whatever it is, there is need for storage and also for retrieval. And sometimes you walk into some offices and you see all manner of paper and all manner of documents at various levels of scattering. Praise the Lord. So what do we do to such things? The thing to do is to receive it, isn't it? And then to sort it, to disseminate it. For some, you've got to, after you have sorted it out, some just go to the trash can immediately, isn't it? You shred it. So do you store? Do you disseminate? Or do you shred? Those are critical decisions that you take. Some things you don't need to keep on piling up all manner of paper. Some are just to be shredded. Some are to be filed. Some are to be disseminated and passed to others. And you take that decision, and it is part of the work of the administrator to take some of those decisions as quickly as possible. Today there is an overload of information. So many things come into the office. It's not everything that is critical for the running of the organization. So information overload. For some of you that even are on the internet, you get so much unsolicited material that one of the critical skills in today's office is the ability to quickly sort through information to see what is relevant and to discard what is not. So what you need to do, therefore, is to look at it very, very well, how you will do that. Now, so you create information, you store it, you retrieve it, you retain it, or you dispose of it when necessary. So when we talk about effective records management, we are actually talking about where this information has been created, stored, retained, and retrieved without much difficulty. So I would like to say, how will you rate your office in terms of this? How will you rate your office? It's food for thought. Now just picture that I'm coming into your office for the first time. What am I likely to see? If I were to walk into your office today, you haven't had time to quickly go back and resort it. If I were to accompany you now, what will both of us meet there? And well, your objective here is to go back, actually, having at the back of your mind some of those things that you will take improvement action upon. So I really would, I really will suppose that each of us will have a list that we have by our side, which we have put personal action improvement plans. If not, our training becomes just another opportunity to gather. So as we're going on, that's one of my objectives, is to see you put down the personal action improvement plans that you have in particular areas. So now, if you're going to have effective records management, then you need to talk about filing and indexing. And every one of us is involved with this on a day-to-day basis. Now, so filing is systematic record keeping, very vital for clerical and secretarial activities in the office, but we use indexing as an aid to filing so that you can trace information easily when you file and you index very well. So what are the essentials of a good filing system? Number one, it must be simple. Simple such that everybody in the organization can understand it. So simple that if you are moved out today, somebody steps in there, they can quickly look through and have an understanding of your filing system. It must be easily accessible. It must be economical. It shouldn't create more problem. It should be suitable to the needs of the organization. Organizations are at different levels of development. And even provinces are different levels of development. Some much older provinces, bigger provinces, will probably need a little more sophisticated filing system than a new provincial office that still has to deal with a small number of people and a smaller number of activities. So it has to be suitable to your needs. It must give room for expansion, and of course it must be adaptable to the changes that will definitely occur. There are all manner of filing systems. You can file alphabetically. You can file numerically. That is, you're looking in terms of the number. You can file geographically, which you may say areas, isn't it? You can file in terms of where they are geographically located. Badagry, Ojo, isn't it? Anthony, Maryland. You can file in terms of that. But you can also file in terms of the subject matter. Okay? Give me an example of subject matter filing. let's go fishing. Okay, so ordination. So those are some of the systems that we may file under. And of course, the chronological systems are filed according to the age, isn't it, of the document in your office. So some of us, in keeping the file, what do you do? Do you file from the front or from the back? Which mode do you adopt? Huh? What do you mean by the back now? The most recent are on top. I think the modern way of filing is more predisposed towards that. But I can bet you there may still be one or two of us who are still filing just as they come, isn't it? You file this way. Are you with me? So basically, today, you file with the most recent so that you can quickly look at that and see what is required to be done. When you talk about indexing, you can actually look at is a list of what is probably in a file or in a cabinet. And you can have a single page that actually looks at what is there. Now, what are the rules that we have for filing? Number one, file neatly and systematically. It still bears saying, I still quarrel in some of the offices that I function, the way people file. Number one, you've got to use a very good punch. You know, there are some punches that are sold there that actually tear off the edges of the paper. Use a good punch. And one of the things, very easy and simple, is to fold, isn't it? Fold there and use this center at the center of the punch to ensure that it aligns properly. When a file is taken and some ears of pages are shooting out, some are inside, and the whole thing. Now, what happens is that the appearance of whatever it is that comes from you actually tells a lot about you. Whether you're neat, whether you pay attention to details, or whether you just do what you need to do. So even small things as how we file neatly and systematically can be quite critical. Number two, perforate them, papers and documents, arrange them in appropriate files. Let, for each subject, as much as possible, let each one have its own file. File them chronologically. Avoid bulky files. What happens normally when the file gets too full? What should we do? We create a new file. You close one file, isn't it? And create a new file. Protect files from water, fire, dust, dirt, humidity, and miscellaneous hazards. And how do we do that? We give them the appropriate type of file jackets. Hardcover, if it has to be, whatever type of jackets that you need, depending on what you require to keep them away from. Don't detach or extract documents without record. Is this common? Let me quickly photocopy. Then you remove it. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't bring them back. Now, once you detach that, if it's something that is very important, when you need to make reference to that, it may be a critical point, and then you can't find the document. So if you're going to extract documents, there has to be a record to show that that page has been removed, and this is the person, and this is the reason why it was removed. And if it is returned, you will then be able to know. And if not returned, you can know who to ask. So don't detach documents without record. Keep up-to-date record of files movement. I've mentioned that a bit earlier. Keep up-to-date. How do we do that? Maybe I need to ask. How do you do that in your provinces? Can somebody tell us? Yes, ma'am. Maybe we can adopt yours uniformly. Can we have a mic for her, please? Thank you. Thank you.
We have an inward and outward correspondence. Every mail going out of the office, we sign it there, and every May coming in, we sign it there, even within, because the provincial pastor doesn't have an office where we are, so we send people to him. So if he's going out with any mails, he signs. If he's coming back, he signs.
Okay. Any other addition to that? Yes, please. Let's look at what is working and whether we can also improve. A file movement register.
Yes, and in that register, you indicate the title of the file, where it's going to, and make provision as to when it should be returned.
Good. Is there any provision for signing?
Yes.
Definitely. Do you get what I'm saying? Is there any other addition? Yes, please. Good. Good. On the file. You know, there's a variety of things that you can do. I'm just saying that let's share, and then you can look at adopting which one is most effective for. Yes, ma'am.
In my own case, we first of all file the documents before passing it to whoever we treat it.
It must be filed.
Filed first.
Okay.
And then you pass it to whoever we treat it.
Now, how do you treat the movement, man? How do you record the movement?
You know you have passed the document to, because it's minuted
At the back.
on the letter.
Okay.
I minute on the letter, it's going to such and such a person.
Okay.
When it comes back, having acted on it, then I come and put it in the file. You know, the offices are not so big. They are not
Okay.
big offices.
Okay.
So there's no problem.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you, ma'am. But could there be
Sir, maybe
a
I
bottleneck there? Yes.
sorry, maybe I don't understand what you're trying to say. I don't know why a file will move.
Will move.
Yes, for instance, no, don't get me wrong.
This is a learning environment. He's asking a question. Yes.
For instance, there are various files. Let's say a personal file. Let's say somebody's been investigated, and you go into his file and you see probably past record or something. You get the file. Now somebody needs the file. Maybe the committee. There's a committee set up for the investigation. Needs his file to go through or something. Those are very rare cases. But I don't understand what you say when you talk about file movement. If it's documents, like she said, what we do in our province is every correspondence or every letter that comes in, we receive them and put them in a particular file for the PP to treat.
Yeah.
As soon as it's leaving our office, the person taking it will sign that I've taken this particular document and this particular files, and gets to the PP. As soon as
you
he
sign that he has taken the file.
Yes, we have.
The file is already moving.
That's what I'm saying. That's on the personal file now.
No. We're not talking basically.
Okay.
We're talking about all manner of.
That's why I'm asking. That's why I asked. What kind of file are you talking about?
Oh, definitely. It could be
Okay.
any type of file. It really could be any type of file. There are some files that you don't give to people because of the nature of the sensitivity of the contents, really. But there are several files within the organization that actually move from place to place. So are you getting what I'm driving at? What I'm driving at is that you can look at a process for recording the movement of the documents on the file that is actually targeted at the sophistication or less sophistication of your office. If it's a small office, definitely you may not have too much of a sophisticated thing. But I think it is nice, no matter how small your office is, that you have the file movement register, and that you have a register that actually shows what documents came in, when did they come in, who did they go to, and that people can actually be able to do that. Are we in agreement on that? Yes, sir. I've just said that. Document movement is what they have described. A document has come in. it's not you who will treat it. So you cannot create a file for it. Do you understand what I'm saying? A document has come in for the APP. Okay? You can create a file for that. What you do is because I want to believe that in many of your organizations, the receipt of documents and mail is centralized. In most offices, one particular place receives everything that comes in, and then you will dispatch. What I'm saying is if you're dispatching, that's document movement. Whereas the APP may have minuted on it and wants to pass it back to the PP. By that time, it should not be flying around any longer, isn't it? Loose. By that time, there is likely to be an appropriate file in which it is filed so that he can actually even see maybe there is a trail. You understand? There's a trail that has to do with that particular document. So you put it in a file, and the whole file now is carried to the PP or whoever's office. Is that okay? Maybe all right, I'll take that and then leave the rest to the question and answer time. Yeah, I just wanted us to see some practical aspects of what we are doing. Yes, sir. Good. Whatever we do, we cannot have a total paperless organization yet. We really can't. We can't have a totally, particularly in this environment that we are in. I can bet you probably maybe about 20% or 15% of the areas that you are dealing with have internet in their offices. True? Is there a province here that 100% all your areas have internet? Do you have internet? Maybe that's a critical question even for some of us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if we don't have a paperless office, then we will still deal with paper. Now, I may also understand what you're saying to be that how do we keep such files electronically? Now, even in your email, your, what is it called, Yahoo or whatever, there are all sorts of ways that you can keep. You have your inbox. There are some that you can also have folders in there. But apart from that, the deal really is to create as many folders as possible, okay, which corresponds to your physical files. The folder corresponds to your physical files, and you can then save documents into those folders for easy reference. How do you do that? It has to be that you will have a personal or at least an agreed within the office system for creating those files and for sharing them. What happens in very modern organizations where you have things like the intranet is that everybody communicates on email and communicates on electronically. Okay? So you're dealing with people real time online, isn't it? As you send, you receive, you send, you receive. So papers are not flying around. There, he has his own issues on how to really monitor how people are dealing with things like that. I'm not sure we are yet at that point. So let's still stick with this paper discussion for now, isn't it? Huh? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So cross-referencing system is required so that you can know how you can move from file to file or from subject to subject. There should be a cross-referencing system. Ensure that trained staff handles filing system. Critical. Is it possible in our system? Yes, it's possible. Who will train them? The administrator can give them quick on-the-job training. Are you with me? There's nothing wrong in doing a knowledge sharing session of about 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours where you take people through. Why do you need to take them through? If you take them through, they spend less time, isn't it? And you spend less time correcting what they have done. Now, when you have your files should be in a proper filing cabinet, and it should be securely locked when not in use for safety and security purpose. Then dispose dead files. according to the laid down procedure, the procedure that you have for dealing with the dead files. But please, please, please avoid, usually you keep files for about how many years before you finally dispose of them? It depends on your organization. 5 years? Or how many years? Or 3 years? Or 2 years? Huh? What do you do in your organization? Or you don't have files that are closed or dead? Really, 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 what you should do is keep as much as possible, because you never can know when you will have need to refer to very old documents. Okay, in indexing, you could have surnames first, Afolayan, Olugbenga. Now, Afolayan, Olugbenga is, you will arrange, Afolayan will come before Gobadia, isn't it? So that's alphabetically. Arrange them in alphabetical order. But surnames with initials should come before surnames with full names. Afolayan O will come before Afolayan Olugbenga. These are just, a lot of these are just individual ways that people look at some of these things. So use surnames before titles as the first unit. Afolayan, Mr. Okay? When two names are identical, write out the names in the normal order when they are identical. So there you have Kunle Jr. and Kunle Sr. We are just looking at various ways that we can look at keeping these records and making them easier to retrieve. In terms of keeping records safe, number one, provide durable file jackets. Number two, have strong rooms or vaults if you have restricted and top secret documents. I'm not sure we have too many of that in our provinces, but you also could have things like legal papers, isn't it? That has to do with a lot of your properties should not be kept lying around anyhow. It's either you have you have the strong room or safes, isn't it? Or you have a vault. A vault doesn't have to be too sophisticated. It just means a reinforced place where you keep such. And where they are very, very important documents, you may actually procure the services of a private vault organization where you can keep such things. So it's just that when they are very, very valuable, please keep them, because it saves you a lot of hassles. Then have fireproof safes for handling sensitive items such as checks, cash, and other valuables. Of course, it goes without saying that these valuables must be kept very well, because there are all manner of people that work in offices. Now, in terms of preservation of records, what are the traditional ways in which we used to preserve records before? Diskettes. Okay. Microfiche. You use the microfiche. But today, you can preserve things in several ways. You can use CDs, DVDs, MP3, all manner of things that are there. So, and they are improving day by day. And some of them, a single flash disk can take so much of information, isn't it, that it presents its own challenges. Because if you do not back up such information, if something gets wrong with the flash disk or something gets wrong with your hard disk, then you are in serious trouble. So one of the things you should do if you're keeping information electronically is that you should back up regularly. Back up regularly so that you can avoid losses like that. Are we together up till this point? Okay. Now, report writing. Let me know, what are the variety of reports that we do write at the provincial level? What kind of reports? Sir? Monthly report, progress reports, yes. Sir? Minutes of meetings. Okay, so we do minutes. Yes? Any other? Okay, let's go fishing. So you could have eyewitness reports. You could have progress reports, isn't it? You could have technical reports, isn't it? Where some study have been set up and you need to write about technically. Now, what happens with report writing is that, minutes writing is a bit different, really, from report writing. But what happens with report writing is that I've given just a format here that you can follow. It doesn't mean that in all cases of reports that you have to follow this format. There are some simple reports that you don't need such a detailed format for, okay? But I'll just try to look at generally how can we write reports. Number one, you must prepare before writing the report. Prepare. In preparing, you want to ask yourself, what is the scope of this report? What am I writing about? What do I want to do? Okay, maybe you need terms of reference. Why am I writing this? What objective do I want? So the reason you want to do this is you don't want to include irrelevant material. And to do this effectively also, it's good for you from the beginning to know the objectives of that report and the scope of it. So try and look at it very well. Who am I writing for? Or who am I writing to? The person you're writing to will determine the layout. Is this a professional? Is this something that is just a simple report? So it will help you. Who are you writing to? What does he know? What does he want? What does he need to know? Okay? Is he a professional or a lay person? Does he have the capacity to absorb the new information that I want to get to him? How do I get that information even across to him? Often we really do say that you proceed from the known to the unknown. Start first with what the person knows already. Build upon that so that you can now move from the known to the new information that you're passing across to that person. What kind of language or terminology must you use? Should you use technical terms? When you use technical terms to a lay person, it becomes jargon. Whereas if you write in such a layman's terms to a professional, the person looks at you that, who do you think you are writing to? So you need to write with the appropriate type of language and terminology. Okay? So you have prepared. Prepared mentally, look at it, my objectives, who am I writing to, so how will I write this, and think through. You've got to think through your report even before putting things down. And that's why we said you will then begin to collect the materials that are required. What do you need? What's the type of report? If it's the monthly report, there's a basic format that you follow, isn't it? So that is simple. Isn't it? That helps that report. There's a basic format, so you know what to ask for at the beginning, and that's why that is easy. Now, if you're writing a report that you do not yet have a format for or a template, you know, some reports is a template that is there. You just put all those things there. Some other reports, you have to look at it from the beginning. You begin to collect the material that you want. Do you want to use the internet? You have to look through some files in the office. Do you have to ask people for information? Do you need to investigate? If it's an investigative type of report, you will need to investigate. You will need to talk to a lot of people. But if not, source your information for as many sources as possible, and you will need to be taking notes. Are you all with me now? I know it's a challenge now. We're approaching lunch. Huh? Right. Huh? So don't worry. Stay with me now. I will soon finish. Is that all right? Right. So you are looking at it, therefore, and you are collecting whatever materials, and you are taking notes. Now, your notes will be very, very useful for you, when you get to the next stage, when you will be arranging the material. Because critical to report writing is to determine what should I keep in and what should I keep out. At the preparation and the collection of material stage, you may collect so much information, isn't it, that your report becomes too bulky. Now, one of the things about report is that reports often go to very busy executives who don't have time. So you must therefore ask yourself, what does the reader need to know? What do you need to provide them in that report? So look at it, make notes of your material, keep those notes. You may actually need to refer to them even much, much later for other subjects and other reports that you have. So look at it very well. What in the materials that you have collected is fact and what is opinion. Some things are fact, some things are just, all right? Some things are just opinions of yours. So fact